YouTubers, Fortune Cookie 45 LC coming to you from the Hot Lead Zone, and as usual, we're going to try and present some new or different information on archery releases that you may not have heard on other YouTube videos. You might wonder, if we're talking about archery releases, what is the Smith & Wesson doing on this video? Well, the similarity, shooters, is that everyone is trying to achieve the surprise break, because the surprise break delivers the most accurate shots. This, of course, is a trigger release for archery, and it's worn around the wrist, and here is the actual release itself. Can we get a surprise break with this? And that is nothing more than the single action mode in shooting a revolver, because the same thing applies here. You have a static trigger, the trigger doesn't move, only the finger moves, and the shot is broken. But all the time that we've shot single action revolvers, single action pistols, the same problem exists. Trying to anticipate the shot, anticipate the recoil, so that we can heal the shot, or we can wrist it, or the arm can get into it and cause any number of problems. In archery, it's the same thing. We hold at full draw, and then as the sights are moving around the target, we're going to try and time the shot so that we jerk the shot off and do not deliver a surprise break at all. Rather, it's an anticipated shot. And that leads to a lot of inaccuracy. Now, even though there are some shooters who can shoot this finger press very well, most of us will not be able to achieve a surprise break consistently. We'll have good days and we'll have bad days, and we'll get into slumps and ruts and this kind of thing trying to shoot the static trigger. Now, some say that you can achieve a surprise break with this trigger by using your back muscles and just having your finger wrapped around this trigger and pulling with your back. And as you do that, the shot goes off when you don't know it. And you can't anticipate that. But the problem is, whenever that finger's on there, the tendency for us to want to make the shot go off is always going to be there. Now, this simple looking device happens to be called a back tension archery release. And we won't go into this too much because there are a lot of videos on this. But what I'd like to point out to you is that this works on the principle of the double action revolver. Now, there's a whole school of thought that says that the superior way to shoot handguns is not single action like this, where you can anticipate the shot, but rather a double action pull, a long dynamic trigger. Not a static trigger, but the dynamic trigger. The dynamic trigger is one that moves. So here's the double action pull. You pull, and at some point on that travel, the trigger drops. And we're never quite sure where that point is. We just pull, and it goes off. Well, what does that tell you? It's a surprise break. Every time you pull a double action revolver, you don't really know where the point is that it's going to go off. It just goes off. Now, we don't shoot double action very often because we think it's harder, but that's because we don't put much time into it. If we did, we might find that this is a superior way to shoot because we're getting surprise breaks every shot. And Jerry Mikulek has studied all the masters of the past, and he has become the most proficient double action shooter there is. And he's probably the deadliest shot on the face of the earth. So, YouTubers, this excellent device, in summation, is a sear on a mechanism whereby the sear is fired by the rotational movement of the release. At some point on that arc, just like a double action trigger, that sear releases and drops the shot. And we're never quite sure where that is. So we use our back muscles to pull, rotate, and at some point that we can adjust here, the point where the steer drops, that's when the shot's fired, and we're never quite sure where that is. So you go to full draw, the little finger is forward, and as you go to full draw, you release your finger from the thumb safety, allowing the release to rotate, and then the shot's fired, just like action revolver. Double action, single action. Your choice, YouTubers. I know that some of you don't like to see guns dry fired. I don't dry fire mine very often, but for a good reason like this video, I do it. And certainly I wouldn't dry fire another person's gun, and I wouldn't dry fire any of my bows. Take care, we'll see you next time. Bye for now.